Hello and welcome to this exploring session as we look at the continuing saga of Looking Glass for London and England by Thomas Lodge and Robert Greene, written somewhere in the orbit of 1590, ranging from about 1587 through to 91-ish as a dating range of when it first appears. We have worked through the first act and a bit in the previous session, as we run through the fabulous, fun-filled family frolics of incestuous interrelations in the city of Nineveh. Nineveh being a terribly sordid place for doing lots of wicked, naughty things, which you, as good citizens of London, are compelled to ignore and do any good things, as you will find. For a more detailed impression of what on earth is going on, go back and watch our previous video. To find out, however, what's going to happen in Act 2, Scene 3 onwards, we have assembled this crack team to read through the text. So, reading today, reading the part of Osius and First Lady is
Alexandra, and I'm not fading away. I just figured that semi-transparent is a better look.
And reading the parts of Jonas, Samia, and First Priest is...
Hi, I'm Simon Nader, not rendered in high key, and I'm a rather over-caffeinated actor, writer, and director in Hertfordshire. Cheers.
And reading the part of an angel and Celisfom is
Sarah Blake. I'm an actor, writer, and not particularly angelic director living in Germany.
Reading the part of Paphlagonia and the Smith's wife is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm in Yorkshire and I'm over the moon because the stall that sells Italian stuff's just opened.
Excellent. Reading the part of Master and First Magus is...
Hi, I'm Tamara and I have no idea what's going on.
And you were here yesterday. Reading the part of Rasni is...
Hi, I'm Alan Scott, and I haven't got a clue either.
Reading the part of Alvida and Governor is...
Hi, I'm Liza Graham, and yeah, everything's a bit confusing.
Reading the part of First Lord and Thrasybulus is...
Hello, I'm Dan. I'm confused in Montpellier, France.
Reading the part of Second Ruffian and Radagon is...
Hi there, I'm Victoria, I'm an actor and I'm in London.
Reading the part of Adam and First Merchant is...
Hi, I'm Steve Confuzzled of Lancaster.
And reading First Ruffian, First Sailor and Silesia is...
Hi there, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm based just outside of Romford. I'm an author.
And finally, fingers crossed for the stability of the internet, reading the part of Smith and Alcon. Pamela, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm Pamela, and I think I'm here. Yay.
Hey. Without further ado, we're going to crack on with the play. I am your host, Robert Crichton. I will be, thankfully, only reading stage directions so long as the internet lasts. So we're cracking on into Act 2, Scene 3. In previous scenes, the King of Nineveh has had his putative wife/sister struck by lightning and killed. And there's also a court case going on against a usurer who's indulging in some semi-sharp practice. We're going to join on the street out near presumably to the King's Palace, as some other reprobates of Nineveh are making their entrance. So enter Adam and his crew of ruffians, drunk.
Farewell, gentle tapster, masters, as good ale as ever was tapped. Look to your feet, for the ale is strong. Farewell, gentle tapster.
Why, Sirrah, slave, by heaven's maker, thinkest thou the wench loves thee best because she laughed on thee? Give me but such another word, and I will throw the pot at thy head.
Spill no drink! Spill no drink. The ale is good. I tell you what, ale is ale. And so I will commend me to you with hearty commendations. Farewell, gentle Topstar.
Why, wherefore, peasant, scornest thou that the wench should love me? Look but on her, and I'll thrust my dagger in thy bosom.
Well, Sirrah, well thou art as thou art, and so I'll take thee.
Why? What am I?
Why, what thou wilt, a slave.
Then take that, villain, and learn how thou use me another time.
And he stabs the first ruffian.
Oh, I am slain.
And the first ruffian dies.
That's all one to me. I care not. Nor will I, now will I into my wench, and call for a fresh pot.
Exit second ruffian, followed by all except Adam.
Here, take me with you, for ale is ale. Cut a fresh toast, Tapster. Fill me a pot. Here is money. I am no beggar. I will follow thee as long as the ale lasts. Pestilence on the blocks for me. I might have had a fall. Well, if we shall have no ale, I'll sit me down. And farewell, gentle Tapster.
Here he falls over the dead man. Enter Rasni, Alvida, the king of Silesia, lords and various attendants.
What slaughtered wretch lies bleeding here his last, so near the royal palace of the king? Search out if anyone be biding nigh, that can discourse the manner of his death. Seek thee, fair Alvida, the fair of fairs. Let not the object once offend thine eyes.
Here's one sits here asleep, my lord.
Wake him, and make inquiry of this thing.
Sirrah, you, hearest thou, fellow?
If you will fill a fresh... Sorry.
If you will fill a fresh pot, here is a penny. Or farewell, gentle Tapster.
He is drunk, my lord.
We'll sport with him, that Elvida may laugh.
Sirrah, thou fellow, thou must come to the king.
I will not do a stroke of work today, for the ale is good ale, and you can ask but a penny a pot, no more by the statute.
Villain, here's the king. Thou must come to him.
King, come to an alehouse. Tapster, fill me 3 pots. Where's the king? Is this he? Give me your hand. As good ale as ever was tapped, and you shall drink while your skin crack.
But hearest thou, fellow, who killed this man?
I'll tell you, sir. If you did taste of the ale, all Nineveh hath not such a cup of ale. It flowers in the cup, by my troth. I spent 11 pence, beside 3 races of ginger.
Answer me, knave, to my question. How came this man slain?
Slain? The ale is strong ale. 'Tis Hofcap. I warrant you 'twill make a man well. Tapster, oh, for the king, a cup of ale and a fresh toast. Here's 2 races more.
Why, good fellow, the king talks not of drink. You would have thee tell him how this man came dead.
Dead? No. I think I am alive yet, and I will drink a full pot of ale ere night. But here, if ye be the wench that filled us drink, well, so do your office and give us a fresh pot. Or if you be the tapster's wife, well, wash the glass clean.
He is so drunk, my lord, there is no talking with him.
Drunk? Yeah, wait, I am not drunk. That the shitting queens who call me drunk, I tell you. I am not a drunk. I am Smith. Aye.
At which point, enter the smith.
Sir, here comes one, perhaps, that can tell.
God save you, master.
Smith, canst thou tell me how this man came dead?
May it please your highness, my man here and a crew of them went to the alehouse and came out so drunk that one of them killed another. And now, sir, I am fain to leave my shop and come to fetch him home.
Some of you carry away the dead body. Drunken men must have their fits. And, Sirrah Smith, hence with thy man.
Sirrah, you, rise, come go with me.
If we shall have a pot of ale, let's have it. Look, here's money. Tapster, take my purse.
Come, then, with me.
I'm for you.
The
Let's
pot
go.
stands full in the house.
I am for you. Let's go. Thou art an honest tapster. We'll drink 6 pots ere we part.
And exit the smith, Adam, and attendants with the dead body. And we're just going to pause there. He's a nice drunk, isn't he? He's a really nice drunk. He's got one thought in his mind, and it never stops. Adam's much more fun, I think, than he was in the first scene we had in the first third of the play. I like Razni's priorities here. Is sit down, Alvida. Don't look at the corpse. You just look in the other direction. That'll be fine. Does Razni really get round to trying to do anything witty with Adam? Because he's just so drunk, he can't seem to actually do any. It sort of says, "Oh, we'll have sport with him," and he's just so drunk, you can't do anything with him.
I'm amazed he got out of there alive, to be honest, having called Alvida the shitting queen. I was like, oh, he's about to be beheaded any moment, but no.
But at the same time, they also went, oh, well, they were drunk when they killed him. Who cares?
Diminished responsibility.
I like Adam's priorities of spill no drink, no spillage. That's the worst sin. And yeah, it's so why did the first ruffian die?
Dispute over women.
Not particularly clear, is it?
No.
Except that they were drunk.
Yeah. It's just the question of which one loved thee best, and you think she loves the best because she laughed on thee, and sort of it's a interesting dispute. Any thoughts about the scene additionally about Adam himself as a comic part?
It's a big physical thing, isn't it? I mean, you've got a sort of decorous court, I suppose, and there's a whole stage drunk thing going on there. I think so. You've got a sort of immediate contrast, haven't you? But they don't do anything with it particularly. No, it's a stalemate. It doesn't go anywhere.
No, the Smith has. The Smith comes in and just sort of reports plot, and Adam just does essentially the same joke again and again and again.
I have a suspicion that what we're in is, very brief verbiage, but there's probably an awful lot of physical business going on with him falling over himself and, as Stephen said, doing the stage drunk bit.
Yeah, it's Chick Murray, isn't it? Anyone remember Chick Murray? No. Okay.
In the annotated quarto, the only thing it lists there is flourish. So apparently there was some sort of activity there, undefined activity.
Yeah. But throughout, I think it's very important that he doesn't spill a drop.
Yes.
Yeah. Liza.
I just wanted to flag up. I don't think murder of this sort is common in clown scenes. That is, scenes where there's just clowns on stage. You know, so I can recall comedy murderers murdering a non-clown character, but I can't recall clowns murdering each other.
I second that. There's a lot of comedy violence, but it doesn't end with consequences.
Except on
obviously,
tour.
I wasn't. I wasn't part of yesterday's, of course. But I'm assuming you've probably spoken about this. But I'm assuming that a looking glass for London and England means that this is highlighting maybe behaviour that goes on. So is this just maybe something about tavern culture and the kind of the volatility of ale drinkers?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Maybe that's why they go so far as to murder their own clowns. Though we don't know for certain that the first and second ruffian count.
Well, I think we decided they were trainee clowns, didn't we?
Yeah. Anyway, I think
maybe they're about to branch into mime, in which case...
yeah, they deserved everything they got.
It's too good for them.
Yes, Helen.
Well, yeah, also Liza. Sorry, no, she wasn't calling for attention. She was doing a mime.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. It ought to be remembered that Adam works for the Smith. It's something that isn't very obvious here, but does come from previously.
So, you know, there's essentially a bunch of apprentices, isn't it? Or similar. We will move on, however, because the scene isn't over. Razny and Alvida are still on stage as the body is being, decorously removed. And Razny, of course, takes no moment left unattended to have fun. So go, Razny.
Beauteous, more bright than beauty in mine eyes. Tell me, fair sweeting, want'st thou anything contained within the threefold circle of the world that'll make Alvida live full content?
Nothing, my lord, for all my thoughts are pleased when as mine eye surfeits with Razny's sight.
And at this point, enter the King of Paphlagonia, Malcontent, i.e. her husband.
Look how thy husband haunts our royal court, how still his sight breeds melancholy storms. O Alvida, I am passing passionate, and vexed with wrath and anger to the death. Mars, when he held fair Venus on his knee, and saw the limping smith come from his forge, had not more deep furrows in his brow than Razny hath to see this Paphlagon.
Content thee, sweet, I'll salve thy sorrow straight. Rest but the ease of all thy thoughts on me, and if I make not Razny blithe again, then say that women's fancies have no shifts.
Shamest thou not Rancy, though thou beest a king, to shroud adultery in thy royal seat? Art thou, arch-ruler of great Nineveh, who shouldst excel in virtue as in state, and wrongst thy friend by keeping back his wife? Have I not battled in thy troops full oft 'gainst Egypt, Jewry, and proud Babylon, spending my blood in to purchase thy renown? And is the guerdon of my chivalry ended in this abusing of my wife? Restore her me, or I will from thy court and make discourse of thy adulterous deeds.
Why take her, Paphlagon? Exclaim not, man, for I do prize mine honour more than love. Fair Alvida, go with thy husband home.
How dare I go, shamed with so deep misdeed? Revenge will broil within my husband's breast, and when he hath me in the court at home, then Alvida shall feel revenge for all.
What sayest thou, King of Paphlagon, to this? Thou hearest the doubt thy wife doth stand upon. If she hath done amiss, it is my fault. I pray thee, pardon and forget it all.
If that I meant not, Razny, to forgive and quite forget the follies that are past, I would not vouchsafe her presence in my court. But she shall be my queen, my love, my life, and Alvida unto her Paphlagon and loved and more beloved than before.
What sayest thou, Alvida, to this?
That will he swear it to my lord the king, and in a full carouse of Greekish wine drink down the malice of his deep revenge, I will go home and love him new again.
What answers Paflagon?
That what she hath requested, I will do.
Go, damosel, fetch me that sweet wine that stands within my closet on the shelf. Pour it into a standing bowl of gold, but on thy life taste not before the king. Make haste.
Exit female attendant.
Why is great Rasni melancholy thus? If promise be not kept, hate all for me.
And wine is brought in by same female attendant.
Here is the wine, my lord. First, make him swear.
By Nineveh's great gods and Nineveh's great king, my thought shall never be to wrong my wife, and thereupon here's a full carouse to her.
And he drinks.
And thereon, Rasni, here's a kiss for thee. Now mayst thou freely fold thine Alvida.
Oh, I am dead. Obstructions of my breath. The poison is of wondrous sharp effect. Cursed be all adulterous queens, say I, and cursing so poor Paflagon doth die.
And Paflagon indeed does die.
Now have I not salved the sorrows of my lord? Have I not rid a rival of thy loves? What sayest thou, Rasni, to thy paramour?
That for this deed I'll deck my Alvida in sendal and in costly sussapine, bordered with pearl and India diamond. I'll cause a great ale, perfume all his winds, with richest myrrh and curious ambergris. Come, lovely minion, paragon for fair. Come, follow me, sweet goddess of mine eye, and taste the pleasures Rasni will provide.
And Rasni and Alvida exit, leaving Osius alone on stage.
Where whoredom reigns, there murder follows fast as falling leaves before the winter blast. A wicked life trained up in endless crime hath no regard unto the latter time, when lechers shall be punished for their lust, when princes plagued because they are unjust. For see in time the warning bell doth toll, subdue the flesh by prayer to save the soul. London, behold the cause of others' wrack, and see the sword of justice at thy back. Defer not off, tomorrow is too late. By night he comes, perhaps to judge thy state.
And thus ends the act.
I was disappointed you didn't get out the thunder sheet at that point, Rob.
There's no stage direction telling me to do so, so I wouldn't want to distort the text at this stage. But yes, Osius really laying on thick. London, ooh, watch London.
We're all doomed.
Yes. Paphlagonia really does sign his own death warrant by doing the suddenly noticing things. Always fatal.
Which is weird, because didn't he explicitly give her up in scene 1?
Yeah. I was wondering if anyone was going to notice that.
Was that him? I thought that was the advisor who was like, you want her? Have her.
There was a sort of impression that he was still sort of going at the time. He was still there.
I think at that point he'd been thoroughly shut up in the half a line into his first speech, and probably worked on the basis that discretion was the better part of valor.
To be fair, Paphlagonia does say, "Ill dost thou counsel him to fancy wives." He does actually warn off the other counsellor, saying, "Oi, don't give away my wife." Yeah, and so I mean, I just love Alvida's pour it into a stone. The closet on my shelf. The go in the third on the left, down underneath the sink. Don't drink it first.
Yeah.
She's had this sitting in her closet then, presumably, for some time, just in case.
That kind of court.
Doesn't everyone?
It's a Delia Smith moment. Here's one I prepared earlier.
I don't think the average episode of Blue Peter did poisons, but
But the whole point of this scene is how scared everyone is of Rasni.
Yes.
I mean, Adam wasn't scared of him at all, but Adam was drunk. The Smith seems remarkably self-possessed, although sober.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's a question of, is Alvida on the make, or is she just scared of Rasni?
I thought she was being opportunistic, personally. I thought she was just almost made me wonder if she had something to do with that lightning.
Yeah.
Yes, the bed was actually had a grid underneath it, and went off to pedal on the getting the lightning mast up to that's possible. That's possible. How willing is Alvida? Is she just working the system? She seems quite enthusiastic to me, but she hasn't really had much of an aside apart from that two-liner. It's interesting. You get those little parallels. They do mention, the forge of forges. A bit of wordplay follows on from the exit of the Smith, even though it's unrelated. It's just this sort of thematic crossover there that I thought was quite interesting. There was something else that was paralleled there as well. Obviously, they're outside an alehouse and they go for a drink. Where do they get the drink from? They don't. Not the alehouse. No. Back to my house. Don't go in the inn. Look in the cupboard.
I mean, fairly, somebody's just been killed in there. We as the audience would immediately go, I can see why they might not be interested in those kind of haunts.
Also,
the danger of being stabbed is too high.
She needs wine, and this is an alehouse.
That's true. Other thoughts about this? We've only done one scene so far today, but any before we move into third act, Victoria?
A little odd that the prophet has a problem with the whoredom and the murdering, but no problem with the drinking and the murdering.
That's true. No mention of drink at all, is there?
You were just getting going with Paphlagon, and he's gone. In his name.
Yeah, poor Paphlagonia. Who gets that kingdom? Any other thoughts?
A pronunciation thing that has just kind of I've just noticed, and I don't know if Alvida has appeared as a word at the end of lines before, but based on the scansion in this particular section, it sounds like it would be pronounced Alvida.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's occurred before.
I was wondering about that. The verse did. Whenever I spoke, she's a queen. She's a, she's of this kind of status where you refer to yourself in the third person a lot, and her scansion certainly gave me Alvida.
Excellent. Let's go for Alvida. You can always rely on me to go for the wrong pronunciation. It's fine. Anything else before we move into Act 3?
I think it was because yesterday we had her name at the beginning of a few of the lines. We had a few verses where it started with her name. So that it became,
And it seemed to work in that context.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
I mean, it might be. I'm not going to. No, actually, I was going to, but I'm not going to because I'd incur the duck. I was going to give another example of a name that gets pronounced both ways in its own play, but I won't.
Yep, that's good. It does happen, so it's not unknown. So let's go into Act 3. There's the Act 3 Scene 1. We have the introduction of Jonas. Have we met Jonas before? I don't think we have we?
Nope.
So let's meet Jonas.
From forth the depth of my imprisoned soul, steal you my sighs to testify my pain. convey on wings of mine immortal tone my zealous prayers unto thy. I'll do that again. My zealous prayers unto the starry throne. Ah, merciful and just, thou dreadful God, where is thine arm to lay revengeful strokes upon the heads of our rebellious race? Lo, Israel, once that flourished like the vine, is barren laid. The beautiful increase is wholly blent, and irreligious zeal encampeth there where virtue was enthroned. Alas, the while the widow wants relief, the fatherless is wronged by naked need. Devotion sleeps in cinders of contempt. Hypocrisy infects the holy priest. Ah me for this! Woe me for these misdeeds! Alone I walk to think upon the world, and sigh to see thy prophets so contemned. Alas, contemned by cursed Israel! Yet, Jonas, rest content. 'Tis Israel's sin that causeth this. Then muse no more thereon, but pray amends, and mend thy own amiss.
And an angel appears to Jonas.
Amittai's son, I charge thee, muse no more. I hath power to pardon and correct. To thee pertains to do the Lord's command. Go, gut thy loins, and haste thee quickly hence. To Nineveh, that mighty city, wend, and say this message from the Lord of hosts. Preach unto them these tidings from thy God. Behold, thy wickedness hath tempted me, and pierced through the ninefold orbs of heaven. Repent, or else thy judgment is at hand.
This said, the angel vanishes.
Prostrate I lie before the Lord of hosts, with humble ears intending his behest. Ah, honoured be Jehovah's great command. Then Jonas must to Nineveh repair, commanded as the prophet of the Lord. Great dangers on this journey do await, but dangers none where heavens direct the course. What should I deem? I see, yea, sighing see how Israel sins, yet knows the way of truth, and thereby grows the byword of the world. How, then, should God in judgment be so strict against those who never heard or knew his power, to threaten utter ruin of them all? Should I report this judgment of my God, I should incite them more to follow sin, and publish to the world my country's blame. It may not be, my conscience tells me, no. Ah, Jonas, wilt thou prove rebellious then? Consider, ere thou fail, what error is. My mind misgives. To Joppa will I fly, and for a while to Tharsus shape my course, until the Lord unfret his angry brows.
Enter certain merchants of Tharsus, a master and some sailors.
Come on, brave merchants, now the wind doth serve, and sweetly blows a gale at west-southwest. Our yards across, our anchors on the pike. What, shall we hence and take this merry gale?
Sailors, convey our budget straight aboard, and we will recompense your pains at last. If once in safety we make Tarsus see, master, we'll feast these merry mates and thee.
Meanwhile, content yourselves with silly cates. Our beds are boards, our feasts are full of mirth. We use no pomp, we are the lords of sea. When princes sweat and care, we swink of glee. Orion's shoulder and the pointers serve to be our lodestars in the lingering night. The beauties of Arcturus we behold. And though the sailor is no bookman held, he knows more art than ever bookman read.
My heavens, well said in honour of our trade. Let's see the proudest scholar steer his course, or shift his tides as silly sailors do. Then will we yield and praise, else ever none.
Well spoken, fellow, in thine own behalf. But let us hence. Wind tarries none, you wot, and tide and time let slip is hardly got.
March to the haven, merchants, I follow you.
And exit the merchants.
Now doth occasion further my desires. I find companions fit to aid my flight. Stay, sir, I pray, and hear a word or two.
Say on, good friend, but briefly, if you please. My passengers by this time are aboard.
Whither pretend you to embark yourselves?
To Tharsis, sir, and here in Joppa Haven, our ship is pressed and ready to depart.
May I have passage for my money then?
What, not for money? Pay 10 silverlings. You are welcome guests, if so you please.
Hold, take thine hire, I follow thee, my friend.
Where is your budget? Let me bear it, sir.
Go on in peace. Whose sailors I do now put trust in him who succoureth every want.
And they leaving Osius alone on stage.
Prophets, new inspired, presume to force and tie the power of heaven to their conceits, when fear, promotion, pride, or simony, ambition, subtle craft, their thoughts disguise. Woe to the flock, whereas the shepherds foul. For lo, the Lord at unawares shall plague the careless guide, because his flocks do stray. The axe already to the tree is set. Beware to tempt the Lord, ye men of art.
And we'll just briefly pause there. So, Jonas, what's going on with him? And I don't know how the angel appears. It doesn't suggest winched down. There's explicitly vanishes. So a sudden move seems to be required. Thoughts about this little scene? Very briefly, I do need to move us forward. Any thoughts?
I'm slightly confused because didn't the angel tell him to go to Nineveh? And
yes.
Now he's going to wherever he's going.
He decided to take a little detour,
Tarsus.
didn't he? Yeah.
He's on the run.
Yeah.
Kind of
He
offy
is.
buggereth.
He said he gave a list of reasons why he didn't think it was a great idea for him to go straight to Nineveh and start preaching.
But he's been told by an angelic force, so like surely that's going to come back to bite him in the arse.
But he's got misgivings because of this. I think I read it anyway as the sign because of the weather being bad, which until the Lord unfret his angry brows, I thought maybe it was something to do with storm, because of course then you have the people come in. So I think it's almost like auguring the signs, maybe augur, go to Joppa for a little bit.
I was also thinking about Jonas, as in Jonah and the whale.
Yeah, I saw that.
The sibilance of the Jonas and
Spoilers!
It's Jonah!
Jonah.
Oh, can you hear that sound? I think it's the other shoe dropping. There we go.
Well, no, it's the silver penny.
It's the penny. It's the
yeah.
penny dropping.
What I loved was the master's description of the glories of the seagoing trades. It's like the glorification of the smiths that we did yesterday. Here we've got a great boost for seagoing.
Nice.
Does this mean we're going to get a whale?
Yes.
Well, who knows? Who knows? We don't know where the play's going. Anything could happen.
So excited now.
How many snails over the last few weeks we could do with a nightmare whale?
Yeah. I do think, Sarah, you should be the reaction gifs for this play.
Okay, I do need to move us forward because time moves on apace. So, Act 3, Scene 2, back in Nineveh. Enter Alcon, Thrasyllibus, Samia, and Celisphon, or however we want to go with those.
Mother, some meat, or else I die for want.
Ah, little boy, how glad thy mother would supply thy wants, but naked need denies. Thy father's slender portion in this world by usury and forced deceit is lost. No charity within this city bides, all for themselves, and none to help the poor.
Father, shall Ctesiphon have no relief?
Faith, my boy, I must be flat with thee. We must feed upon proper now, as necessity hath no law. A child's feast is better than none at all. For other remedies have we none, except thy brother Radagon help us.
Is this thy slender care to help our child? Hath nature armed thee to no more remorse? Ah, cruel man, unkind, and pitiless. Come, Ctesiphon, my boy, I'll beg for thee.
Oh, how my mother's mourning moveth me.
Nay, you shall pay me interest for getting the boy, wife, before you carry him hence. Alas, woman, what can Alcon do more? I'll pluck the belly out of my heart for thee, sweet Samia. Not that was it.
Ah, silly man, I know thy want is great and foolish, I to crave where nothing is. Haste, Harkon, haste, make haste unto our son, who, since he is in favour of the king, may help this hapless gentleman and us for to regain our goods from tyrants' hands.
Have patience, Samia. Wait your wheel from heaven. The gods have raised your son, I hope, for this, to succor innocents in their distress. Lo, where he comes from the imperial court. Go, let us prostrate us before his feet.
Nay, by my troth, I'll never ask my son's blessing. Citro taught him his lessons to know his father.
Enter Radagon attended.
What? Son Radagon? If faith, boy, how dost thee?
Villain, disturb me not. I cannot stay.
Son, I'll help you of that disease quickly, for I can hold thee. Ask thy mother, knave, what cunning I have to ease a woman when a qualm of kindness comes too near her stomach. Let me but clasp mine arms about her body, and say my prayers in her bosom, and she shall be healed presently.
Traitor unto my princely majesty, how darest thou lay thy hands upon a king?
No traitor, Radagon, but true he is. What, hath promotion bleared thus thine eye, to scorn thy father when he visits thee? Alas, my son, behold with rueful eyes thy parents robbed of all their worldly weal by subtle means of usury and guile. The judge's ears are deaf and shut up close, all mercy sleeps. Then be thou in these plunges a patron to thy mother in her pains. Behold thy brother almost dead for food. Oh, succour us, that first did succour thee.
What? Succour me? False call it, hence avaunt. Old dotard, pack. Move not my patience. I know you not. Kings never look so low.
You know us not? Oh, Radagon, you know that, knowing us, you know your parents then. You know'st this womb first brought thee forth to light. I know these paps did foster thee, my son.
Have we lost Pamela?
It's all too much for us.
I think we've lost Pamela. I'm going to step in, Alcon. And I know ye have had many a piece of bread and cheese at my hands, as proud as he is, that I know.
I wait no hope of succor in this place, where children hold their fathers in disgrace.
Dare you enforce the furrows of revenge within the brows of royal Radagon? Villain, avaunt! Hence, beggars, with your brats! Marshal, why whip you not these rogues away that thus disturb our royal majesty?
Mother, I see it as a wondrous thing from base estate for to become a king. For why, methink, my brother in these fits hath got a kingdom and hath lost his wits.
Yet more contempt before my royalty. Slaves, fetch out tortures worse than Titius' plagues and tear their tongues from their blasphemous heads.
I'll get me gone, the woe be gone with grief. No hope remains. Come, Alcon, let us wend.
'Twere best you did, for fear you catch your bane.
Exit Thrasyllabus, or Thrasybulus, anyway.
Nay, traitor, I will haunt thee to the death. Ungracious son, untoward and perverse, I'll fill the heavens with echoes of thy pride, and ring in every ear thy small regard, that dost despise thy parents in their wants, and breathing forth my soul before thy feet, my curses still shall haunt thy hateful head, and being dead, my ghost shall thee pursue.
And here enters Rasni, attended on by his magi and kings.
How now? What mean these outcries in our court? where naught should sound but harmonies of heaven. What maketh Radagon so passionate?
Justice, O king, justice against my son.
Thy son? What son?
This cursed Radagon.
Dread monarch, this is but lunacy, which grief and want have brought the woman to. What, doth this passion hold you every moon?
Oh, politic in sin and wickedness, too impudent for to delude thy prince. Oh, Rasni, this same womb first brought him forth. This is his father, worn with care and age. This is his brother, poor, unhappy lad, and I, his mother, though contemned by him. With tedious toil we got our little good, and brought him to school with mickle charge. Lord, how we joy to see his towardness, and to ourselves we oft in silence said, this youth, when we are old, may succour us. But now, preferred and lifted up by thee, we quite destroyed by cursed usury, he scorneth me, his father, and this child.
He plays the serpent right, described in Aesop's tale, that sought the foster's death that lately gave him life.
Nay, and please your majestyship, for proof he was my child, search the parish book, the clerk will swear it, his godfathers and godmothers can witness it. It cost me 40 pence in ale and cakes on the wives at his christening. Hence, proud king, thou shalt never more have my blessing.
Say sooth in secret, Radagon. Is this your father?
Mighty king he is. I blushing tell it to your majesty.
Why dost thou then condemn him and his friends?
Because he is a base and abject swain. My mother and her brat both beggarly, unmeet to be allied unto a king. Should I, that look on Rasni's countenance, and march amidst his royal equipage, embase myself to speak to such as they? 'Twere impious so to impair the love that mighty Rasni bears to Radagon. I would your grace would quit them from your sight, that dare presume to look on Jove's compare.
I like thy pride, I praise thy policy. Such should be that wait upon my court. Let me alone to answer, Radagon. Villains, seditious traitors as you be, that scandalise the honour of a king, depart my court, you stales of impudence, unless you would be parted from your limbs. Too base for to entitle fatherhood to Rasni's friend, to Rasni's favourite.
Hence, begging scold, hence, caitiff clogged with years, on pain of death revisit not the court. Was I conceived by such a scurvy trull, or brought to light by such a lump of dirt? Go, Lozel, trot it to the cart and spade. Thou art unmeet to look upon a king, much less to be the father of a king.
You may see, wife, what a goodly piece of work you have made. Have I taught you arithmetic, as additory multiplicarum, the rule of 3, and all for the begetting of a boy, and to be banished for my labour? Oh, pitiful hearing! Come, Cleophon, follow me.
Brother, beware. I oft have heard it told that sons who do their fathers scorn shall beg when they be old.
Hence, bastard boy, for fear you taste the whip.
And exit Alcon and Lesiphon.
Oh, all you heavens and you eternal powers that sway the sword of justice in your hands, if mother's curses for her son's contempt may fill the balance of your fury full, pour down the tempest of your direful plagues upon the head of cursed Radagon.
And a flame of fire appears from beneath, and Radagon is swallowed.
So, you are just. Now triumph, Samia.
And she exits.
What exercising charm or hateful hag hath ravished the pride of my delight? What tortuous planets or malevolent conspiring power repining destiny hath made the concave of the earth unclose and shut in raptures lovely Radagon? If I be Lord Commander of the clouds, King of the earth, and Sovereign of the seas, what daring Saturn from his fiery den doth dart these furious flames amidst my court? I am not chief, there is more great than I. What, greater than the Assyrian satraps? It may not be, and yet I fear there is, that hath bereft me of my Radagon.
Monarch and potentate of all our provinces, muse not so much upon this accident, which is indeed nothing miraculous. The hill of Sicily, dread sovereign, sometime on sudden doth evacuate whole flakes of fire and spews out from below the smoky brands that Vulcan's bellows drive, whether by winds enclosed in the earth or fracture of the earth by rivers, for such chances as was this are often seen. Whole cities sunk, whole countries drowned quite. Then muse not at the loss of Radagon, but frolic with the dalliance of your love. Let cloths of purple set with studs of gold, embellished with all the pride of earth, be spread for Alvida to sit upon. Then thou, like Mars, courting the queen of love, mayst drive away this melancholy fit.
Proof is good and philosophical, and more, thy counsel plausible and sweet. Come, lords, though Rasni wants his Radagon, earth will repay him many Radagons, and Alvida with pleasant looks revive the heart that droops for want of Radagon.
And they exit, leaving Osius alone to make a final comment on the scene.
Bad. The page has changed. When disobedience reigneth in the child, and princes' ears by flattery be beguiled, when laws do pass by favour, not by truth, when falsehood swarmeth both in old and youth, when gold is made a god to wrong the poor, and charity exiled from rich men's door, when men by wit do labour to disprove the plagues for sin sent down by God above, when great men's ears are stopped to good advice and apt to hear those tales that feed their vice, woe to the land! For from the east shall rise a Lamb of peace, the scourge of vanities, the judge of truth, the patron of the just, who soon will lay presumption in the dust and give the humble poor their heart's desire, and doom the worldlings to eternal fire. Repent, all you that hear, for fear of plagues. O London, this and more doth swarm in thee. Repent, repent, for why the Lord doth see, with trembling pray, and mend what is amiss. The sword of justice drawn already is.
Repent, repent, you miserable sinners, you. Osius is really getting into his stride as the play goes on. I think the thing that really struck me about that scene is just when Radagon comes on, and it's just suddenly going, Radagon, I am your father. Was that mentioned at all? Did we miss that? I mean, it's suddenly going.
He said yesterday. He said that he had a son at court.
Yes, he did. Yeah, right at the end. Yeah.
Also, Rasni says that he had raised Radagon from a beggar.
But, you know, the actual explicit connection had not been made. You're going,
No.
oh, this is a random subplot. It's got nothing to do with anything. And then, wow.
Also, wait, I have a question. Can Samia just do that? Is that just a thing that she can do? Because where was she all this time?
Well, she has got a problem with wind. Now, I'm not suggesting...
Oh God, not fartlising jokes now.
But that's the thing we didn't say, Simon, is that technically you possibly could have been farting throughout the entire scene. I mean, there is you are under some stress, and
well, if you like to imagine that I was during the reading, that's fine.
Yeah. It's also that Alcon's got the line, I taught you, and I don't know whether it should be arsemetry, whether that, I don't think it should be, but it's just, I'm running with this at the moment, so, but the way the scene opens with almost the fiddles playing, we're so hungry.
She was poor, but she was honest.
Yeah. Any thoughts about this? Quite a long scene of flame of fire, everyone.
I did not see that coming.
No.
Nobody expects the
I
flame of
truly
fire.
did not see that coming. I mean, Paphlagonia, yes. You could see, that was well signaled in advance. As soon as she said to the servant, don't taste it. But this, no.
Yeah.
I'd love to see how they will find out how on earth they would have done this, because you just puff of smoke. A fire. You have someone just come on.
They could very easily do the full Wicked Witch of the West disappearing act. If you just need a trap and some gunpowder, and you could very easily do that with the technology they had.
I think they've got some good trap machinery, because we had a tree yesterday, didn't we? Coming out from the ground.
A whole arbour.
Really? And a whole arbour, indeed. So
yeah, we didn't talk about that properly, did we?
No, but I mean, that was quite impressive, I thought. So they've obviously got something that allows you to, be quite impressive.
And if you're using it in one show, you might as well use it 2 or 3 times. Yeah. Dan?
Just to add the annotation, they actually have one that says lightning and bolt there for that particular moment. So that's all.
I thought there would be something about the sins of the father visited upon the son. But there wasn't. I really thought there'd be, that visiting of the sins of the father upon the son, but it wasn't. It was more about claiming that the father of Radagon is a good man.
I think that the unexpected nature of this is actually really well constructed, because it's clearly done on purpose. And I noticed that when Ctesiphon says 2 lines before. Ctesiphon says, "Brother, beware, sons who do their father's scold shall beg when they be old." And then, Radagon speaks, Samir speaks, and then Radagon is no more. So we've just spoken about his old age, and then that, there's no chance of it happening.
Liza, I've seen your hand.
Well, I was just finding it interesting that even in these times, the conflict between science and religion is something you associate more with the 19th century. But here, you've got Razni's Magus, who says, "Oh no, it's a perfectly natural phenomenon. It's probably like a volcano or something." And then you have Hosea condemning those, what men by wit do labor to disprove the plagues for sin sent down by God above. So, that's a little bit interesting there. I'm also keeping a checklist of how many commandments they're breaking. They've broken most of them at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean, Razni's line, the proof is good and philosophical, and more, thy counsel plausible and sweet. We can sell that. We can sell that opinion. It doesn't matter if it's true. It's just that's sellable, and there's something very modern about that. Razni's quite put out that he can't command thunderbolts at will, but everybody else seems to be able to do it. Poor person can just shoots of jets of fire. It's just, he's a king. He should be able to do this stuff.
You'd expect him to offer Samaya a job or something.
Okay, we do need to move forward unless anyone has a thought they wish to bursting to let forth.
I just have one tiny thing to say. Samia, farting aside, we've like in Green, we've had Melissa, and then we had Medea, and now we've got Samia. These women who kind of pop on for one scene and do something incredibly powerful and magical to, spur the plot forward and then pop off again. Just blacking that up.
No, it's a good point, and actually her action and her reality is very different to how she was described. I have to say, there's a really good disconnect there, which I like, because I'd be quite disappointed if she did just turn up and fart constantly. I don't think that's the correct interpretation. Anyway, let's move into Act 3, Scene 3. We're joining the Smiths. Enter Adam and the Smith's wife.
Why, but hear you, mistress. You know a woman's eyes are like a pair of pattens, fit to save shoe leather in summer and keep away the cold in winter. So, you may like your husband with the one eye because you are married, and me with the other because I'm your man. Alas, think, mistress, what a thing love is. Why, it is like to an Austrian faggot that once set on fire is as hardly quenched as the bird crocodile driven out of her nest.
Why, Adam, cannot a woman wink but she must sleep? And can she not love but she must cry it out in the street? Cry it out at the cross. No, Adam, I love thee as myself, now that we are together in secret.
Mistress, these words of yours are like to a foxtail placed in a gentlewoman's fan, which as it is light, so it giveth life. Oh, these words are as sweet as the lily, whereupon offering a borraccio of kisses to your unseemly personage, I entertain you upon further acquaintance.
Alas, my husband comes.
Strike up the drum, say no words but mon.
And enter the Smith.
Sirrah, you and you, huswife, well taken together. I have long suspected you, and now I am glad I have found you together.
Truly, sir, and I am glad that I may do you any way pleasure, either in helping you or my mistress.
Boy here, and knave, you shall know it straight. I will have you both before the magistrate, and there have you surely punished.
Well, then, master, are you jealous?
Jealous, knave? How can I be but jealous to see you ever so familiar together? Thou art not only content to drink away my goods, but to abuse my wife.
Two good qualities, drunkenness and lechery. But master, are you jealous?
Aye, knave, and thou shalt know it ere I old.
My good husband, abuse him not, for he never proffered you any wrong.
Nay, whore, thy part shall not be behind.
Why, suppose, master, I have offended you. Is it lawful for the master to beat the servant for all offences?
Aye, marry it is, knave.
Then, master, will I prove, by logic, that seeing all sins are to receive correction, the master is to be corrected of the man? And, sir, I pray you, what greater sin is than jealousy? 'Tis like a mad dog that for anger bites himself. Therefore, that I may do my duty to you, good master, and to make a white son of you, I will so beswinge jealousy out of you as you shall love me the better while you live.
What, beat thy master, knaves?
Well, beat thy man, knave, I master, and double beat you, because you're a man of credit, and therefore have at you the fairest for 40 pence.
And he beats the Smith.
Alas, wife, help, help! My man kills me.
Nay, even as you have baked, so brew. Jealousy must be driven out by extremities.
And that I will do, mistress.
Hold thy hand, Adam, and not only I forgive and forget all, but I will give thee a good farm to live on.
Begone, peasant, out of the compass of my further wrath, for I am a corrector of vice, and at night I will bring home my mistress.
Even when you please, good Adam.
When I please, mark the words. 'Tis a lease parole to have and hold. Thou shalt be mine forever. And so, let's go to the alehouse.
And they exit, leaving Osius behind.
Servants against masters do rebel, the commonweal may be accounted hell. For if the feet the head shall hold in scorn, the city's state will fall and be forlorn. This error, London, waiteth on thy state. Servants, amend, and masters, leave to hate. Let love abound, and virtue reign in all. So God will hold his hand that threateneth thrall.
And that's the end of that scene. My God, everybody's at it. Wow. I mean, it's quite a cruel scene, that. I mean, I really felt for this. You know, the Smith seemed like a decent stand-up-ish kind of chap, and then he gets sort of cowed. It's a really quite cruel scene, I felt. Thoughts from the room?
It's topsy-turvy, isn't it? I mean, it's, you know, in a very hierarchical society, then apprentices obey their masters and wives obey their husbands, and here everything's turned upside down. And this year, don't try this at home, London. See what happens in Nineveh. It all, you know, it starts with something really small, and before you know it, you know, people being incinerated in the streets, and apprentices are beating their masters.
I mean, you can see why God wants to send someone to preach against Nineveh.
Yeah. Though there hasn't arrived yet, so we'll just have to wait for that news to reach Nineveh. Who someone else wanted to say something?
I was just muttering.
Alexander.
I'm confused as to how we're supposed to feel about Adam and in terms of the dramatic purpose of the things that we see him do, because on the one hand, you know, if these things are supposed to be kind of comedy scenes where part of the comedy is the reversal of fortune and all of that, then, you know, we, the audience of Groundlings, will be cheering him on. And so, you know, for Osius to come and go and say, that's a really bad idea, would probably get him booed off the stage, because, you know, this is, not only are we having fun, but also tradition in the way that these things happen in plays would be on our side, if that makes sense. So yeah, or are we supposed to, in the playing of it, construct it in such a way that Adam either starts sympathetic, and then eventually we come to a realization that he's villainous because he does all these things that we normally would cheer him on for. I'm not sure.
We did have a conversation. Oh, no.
No, go on.
No, go, Sarah.
We did have a conversation yesterday about this very thing, about the fact that Green and Lodge seem to be wanting to have their cake and eat it. Because they're, on the one hand, it's, you know, we're holding up it's a morality tale and we're holding up a mirror to London. But on the other hand, they make everything, they make all the vices that occur just really good fun. So it's like, yeah, there's a bit of double dealing there, I think.
Yeah, and we've had this conversation also with a different Vice play, or several even, you know, about how if you don't make the vices worth kind of, if you don't make them tempting, then they're very easy to condemn. Whereas if they are constructed in such a way that, oh my God, that looks like so much fun, and then they get their comeuppance at the end, that's a lesson learned. But this is sort of teaching the lesson every scene.
I'm not sure how welcoming a figure Adam is. I mean, he's quite abrasive all the way through. I mean, he doesn't feel like a you know, a fun clown that we journey with. He feels a very dark character very much from the off. I mean, the only scene that I think we can say is definitely played for laughs is when he's just drunk out of his skull. And even there's something. I think Stephen wanted to say something.
Well, it was just to say that people going to theatres in this period would have been well aware of the sort of moral and scriptural objections to engaging with what happened on the stage. This is, that when theatre collapsed in whenever it was, 83, people were publishing pamphlets saying this shows God's wrath. So this is maybe not innocent of extra dramatic context as well. In other words, this is what somebody who didn't like the theatre would say, and in fact, it's what they did say. The anti-theatrical sermons took it that if you went to the theatre, you completely agreed with everything that happened in the theatre, rather like the way people talk about horror films or something like that. So there's also Ozias as a contemporary Bible basher, if you like, and that might be a way through that.
Sarah, I see a hand, and I see one for Dan in a moment.
That makes total sense. But my comment was going back to what you said, Robert, about Adam not being sympathetic or so funny in this scene. I think that first half, before the Smith comes in, when he's seducing the Smith's wife, he suddenly came over all Leslie Phillips to me with all those similes and metaphors. I just thought that was hilarious. Like, a woman's eyes are like a pair of pattens fit to save the shoe leather in summer and to keep away the cold in winter. I mean, I think there's actually quite a lot of comic business to be had there, and he could even do a bit of moustache twirling if he had a moustache.
Dan?
I just want to go along and with what everyone else is saying agree with the fact that I think that Lodge and Green are trying to have their cake and eat it too. I do think that we have this, once again, we have a character, Adam, who's talking about someone else who we don't see or hear from for a long time, in a way getting him on our side there, so that Green, Lodge can basically, I guess, turn the tables on us about how we think about these characters there. Similar to what I think he did in James IV, and inserting, I thought, his philosophy into a play where it seemed like it seemed very much out of place there.
Okay, we're going to move forward and we're going to run the next two scenes into each other as we go into Act 4. Let's see where we go from here. So re-enter the merchants of Tharsus, the master of the ship and some sailors, wet from the sea. So wet yourselves down, people. With them, the governor of Joppa.
What strange encounters met you on the sea, that thus your bark is battered by the floods, and you return thus sea-wrecked, as I see?
Most mighty governor, the chance is strange, the tidings full of wonder and amaze, which, better than we, our master can report.
Master, discourse us all the accident.
The fair Triones with their glimmering light smiled at the foot of clear boot Swain, and in the north, distinguishing the hours, the lodestars of our course dispersed his clear, when to the seas, with blitheful western blasts, we sailed amain and let the bowling fly. Scarce had we gone 10 leagues from sight of land, but lo! An host of black and sable clouds gan to eclipse Lucina's silver face, and with a hurling noise from forth the south, a gust of wind did rear the billows up. Then scantled we our sails with speedy hands, and took our drabblers from our bonnets straight, and severed our bonnets from the courses. Our topsails up, we truss our sprit sails in, but vainly strive they that resist the heavens. For lo, the waves incense them more and more, mounting with hideous roarings from the depth. Our bark is battered by encountering storms, and well nigh stemmed by breaking of the floods. The steersman, pain and careful, holds his helm, wherein the trust of life and safety lay, till all at once, a mortal tale to tell, our sails were split by Bice's bitter blast. Our rudder broke, and we bereft of hope. Then might you say, with pale and ghastly looks, the dead in thought and doleful merchants lift their eyes and hands unto their country's gods. The goods we cast in bowels of the sea and sacrifice to assuage proud Neptune's ire. Only alone a man of Israel, a passenger, did under hatches lie, and slept secure, when we forsook her prayed. Him I awoke and said, Why slumberest thou? Arise and pray and call upon thy God. He will perhaps in pity look on us. Then cast we lots to know by whose amiss our mischief came, according to the guise. And lo, the lot did unto Jonas fall, the Israelite of whom I told you last. Then questioned we his country and his name, who answered us, I am a Hebrew born, who fear the Lord of heaven, who made the sea, and fled from him, for which we all are plagued. So, to assuage the fury of my God, take me, and cast my carcass in the sea. Then shall the stormy wind and billow cease. The heavens, they know, the Hebrews' God can tell, how loath we were to execute his will, but when no oars nor labour might suffice, we heaved the hapless Jonas overboard. So ceased the storm, and calmed all the sea, and we, by strength of oars, recovered shore.
A wondrous chance of mighty consequence.
Honoured be the God that wrought the same. For we have vowed that saw his wondrous works to cast away profaned paganism and count the Hebrews' God the only God. To him this offering of the purest gold, this myrrh and cassia, freely I do yield.
And on this altar's fume, these Turkey cloths, this gossamer pine and gold I'll sacrifice.
To him my heart and thoughts I will addict, and suffer us, most mighty governor, within your temples to do sacrifice.
You men of Tarsus, follow me, who sacrifice unto the God of heaven are welcome friends to Joppa's governor.
And they exit to convert instantly, and a sacrifice is made. Osius is left alone.
Warned once, the ethnics thus repent, and at the first their error do lament. What senseless beasts devoured in their sin are they whom long persuasions cannot win? Beware, ye western cities, where the word is daily preached, both at church and board, where majesty the gospel doth maintain, where preachers, for your good, themselves do pain, to dally long and still protract the time. The Lord is just, and you but dust and slime. Presume not far, delay not to amend. Who suffereth long will punish in the end. Cast thy account, O London, in this case, then judge what cause thou hast to call for grace.
And now Jonas, as we go into the next scene, Jonas is cast out of the belly's whale upon the stage.
Lord of the light, thou maker of the world, behold, thy hands of mercy rear me up. Lo, from the hideous bowels of this fish, thou hast returned me to the wished air. Lo, here, apparent witness of my power, the proud Leviathan that scours the seas, and from his nostrils showers out stormy floods, whose back resists the tempest of the wind, whose presence makes the scaly troops to shake, with humble stress of his broad opened chaps, hath lent me harbour in the raging floods. Thus, though my sin hath drawn me down to death, thy mercy hath restored me to life. Bow ye my knees, and you, my bashful eyes, weep so for grief as you to water would. In trouble, Lord, I called unto thee. Out of the belly of the deepest hell I cried, and thou didst hear my voice, O God. 'Tis thou hast cast me down into the deep. The seas and floods did compass me about. I thought I had been cast from out thy sight. The weeds were wrapped around my wretched head. I went unto the bottom of the hills, but thou, O Lord, my God, has brought me up. On thee I thought, when as my soul did faint my prayers, did prease before thy mercy seat. Then will I pay my vows unto the Lord, for wise salvation cometh from his throne.
And the angel appears.
Jonas, arise, get thee to Nineveh,
and preach to them the preachings that I bade. Hasty to see the will of heaven performed.
The angel departs.
Jehovah, I am pressed to do thy will. What coast is this, and where am I arrived? Behold, sweet Lycus streaming in his bounds, bearing the walls of haughty Nineveh, whereas 300 towers do tempt the heaven. Fair are thy walls, pride of Assyria, but lo, thy sins have pierced through the clouds. Here will I enter boldly, since I know my God commands, whose power no power resists.
And he exits, leaving Osius alone on stage.
You prophets, learn by Jonas how to live. Repent your sins, whilst he doth warning give. Who knows his master's will, and doth it not, shall suffer many stripes. Full well I wot.
And we'll just briefly pause there. Giant fish time, people. How significant an item there. I mean, you know, poor. I feel sorry for the merchant and, you know, the master and his ship. You know, you kill one albatross, and I mean, they should really have worn Jonas round their neck on a rope. That's I think the way you're supposed to do it. Yes. I liked the way, Sarah, you did the angel there. It was more White Rabbit going, you're late for a very important date. It was sort of, you know, where have you been? I liked that. Any brief thoughts, because we are running a little behind schedule, so pithy, please.
I loved the technical stuff on the ship.
The props and FX budget for this would have been quite considerable, wouldn't it?
Well, to be fair, they didn't show us the stuff with the ship. They just showed us the fish afterwards. So,
No,
but yes.
but the fish itself, plus the fire, plus the tree we had earlier.
Also, I don't think you necessarily need to show the fish, because he's cast out of the whale's belly. So as long as you just show him kind of rolling into space from random general curtain area, you know, that achieves the same effect. You don't necessarily need a great budget, although it's, you know, really cool if you have it.
He does say this fish. It does. The impression is that the fish is still on stage and blowing water in his face while he talks.
I was going to say I really liked the way in which, yes, the technical details of the ship stuff, and also that little detail of the heavens they know and the Hebrews God can tell how loath we were to execute his will. It sets them up as nice people, I just really liked that little moment, as well as their conversion later on and so on. So, you know, they're not horrible sinners, they're virtuous people who just happen to be praying to the wrong God.
I like the fact that Jonas inquires, where is he? He's looking for himself, and we are looking to Nineveh, but nowhere in London and England. And so the reference is that he has arrived in London from the belly of the whale, but we have to assume and imagine that he's in Nineveh, but the whale has actually spent him up in London. What did you think?
I think this is the confusion we explored yesterday, because until we got to the end of yesterday's one, I had got the feeling that the scenes involving Razni were Nineveh and the other sequences were in London, but it was shouted down on that one, you know, that all of this is supposedly happening in Nineveh or its environs.
Yes, the only connection with London at the moment is Osius. With the increasingly irate preaching as it goes on.
Couldn't you just see John Laurie reading that?
Yeah. Dan.
If I can just add something about locations, one of the things that we have absolutely no record of, but references to in certain plays, are what would have appeared on the title cards in terms of acts and locations and whatnot. So that's not necessarily going to be recorded in the playbook there. So I wouldn't necessarily rule out location-wise where a couple of these things are when it's undefined at the moment. There. Just one other note about the prop thing. Apparently, in one of the performances, it actually has a call for a whale on the stage there. So I'm still guessing that they're probably coming out of the discovery space from the
I
belly.
assume so. I assume it's just a big fishy head. That's what I'm assuming.
Apparently they have a whale.
Yeah. Sarah.
Well, this is exactly what I was going to say. Like, we've already had the trap used for the tree and then the fire. I think this is going to be one of those situations where this like massive fish head rises up out of the trap, and then whoop, he jumps out of the top of it and lands on the floor. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to have to force the pace because we've got one more scene to get through before we go into extra time. So Act 4, Scene 3, and we're back with the good people we got the good Alvida. Was that where we went for? Anyway, enter Alvida in rich attire with the King of Silesia and her ladies.
Ladies, go sit you down amidst this bower, and let the eunuchs play you all asleep. Put garlands made of roses on your heads, and play the wantons whilst I talk a while.
Thou beautiful of all the world, we will.
And the ladies enter the bower.
King of Silesia, kind and courteous, like to thyself, because a lovely king. Come, lay thee down upon thy mistress' knee, and I will sing and talk of love to thee.
Most gracious paragon of excellence, it fits not such an abject prince as I to talk with Rasni's paramour and love.
To talk, sweet friend, who would not talk with thee? Oh, be not coy, art thou not only fair? Come, twine thine arms about this snow-white neck, a love nest for the great Assyrian king. Blushing, I tell thee, fair Cilician prince, none but thyself can merit such a grace.
Madam, I hope you mean not for to mock me.
No, king, fair king, my meaning is to yoke thee. Hear me but sing of love, then by my sighs, my tears, my glancing looks, my changed cheer, thou shalt perceive how I do hold thee dear.
Sing, madam, if you please, but love in jest.
Nay, I will love, and sigh at every rest. Beauty, alas, where wast thou born, thus to hold thyself in scorn? When as beauty kissed to woo thee, thou by beauty dost undo me. Hey-ho, despise me not, I and thou in sooth are one. Fairer thou, I fairer none. Wanton thou, and wilt thou wanton yield a cruel heart to plant on? Do me right and do me reason, cruelty's cursed treason. Hey-ho, I love, hey-ho, I love, hey-ho, and yet he eyes me not.
Madam, your song is passing passion.
And wilt not thou then pity my estate?
Ask love of them who pity may impart.
I ask of thee, sweet, thou hast stole my heart.
Your love is fixed on a greater king.
Tut, women's love, it is a fickle thing. I love my Rasni for his dignity. I love Cilician king for his sweet eye. I love my Rasni since he rules the world, but more, I love this kingly little world.
And she embraces him.
How sweet he looks. Oh, were I Cynthia's fear, and thou Endymion, I should hold thee dear. Thus should mine arms be spread about thy neck.
Embraces his neck.
Thus would I kiss my love at every beck.
And kisses him.
Thus would I sigh to see thee sweetly sleep, and if thou wakest not soon, thus would I weep, and thus, and thus, and thus. Thus much I love thee.
Many kisses.
For all these vows beshrew me if I prove ye. My faith unto my king shall not be forced.
Good Lord, how men are coy when they are craved.
Madam, behold our king approacheth nigh.
Thou art Endymion, then no more. Hey ho, for him I die.
Faints, pointing at the king of Silesia. Sorry. Enter Rasni with his kings, lords, and magi.
What ails the centre of my happiness? Whereon depends the heaven of my delight? Thine eyes the motors to command my world, thy hands the axia to maintain my world, thy smiles the prime and springtide of my world, thy frowns the winter to affect the world. Thou queen of me, I king of all the world.
She rises as of out of a trance.
Ah, feeble eyes, lift up and look on him. Is Rasni here? Then droop no more, poor heart. Oh, how I fainted when I wanted thee.
And embraces him.
How fain am I now I may look on thee. How glorious is my Rasni. How divine. Eunuchs, play hymns to praise his deity. He is my Jove, and I his Juno Anne.
Sun-bright as is the eye of summer's day, when as he suits his pennons all in gold, to woo his lady in a swan-like shape, seemly as Galatea for thy white, rose-coloured lily, lovely, wanton, kind, be thou the labyrinth to tangle love, whilst I command the crown from Venus' crest, and pull Orion's girdle from his loins, enchased with carbuncles and diamonds, to beautify fair Elvida, my love. Play, eunuchs, sing in honour of her name. Let look not slaves upon her wooing eyne, for she is fair Lucina to your king, but fierce Medusa to your baser eye.
What if I slept? Where should my pillow be?
Within my bosom, nymph, not on my knee. Sleep like the smiling purity of heaven, when mildest wind is loath to blend the peace. Meanwhile my balm shall from thy breath arise, and while these closures of thy lamps be shut, my soul may have his peace from fancy's war. This is my morn, and I her Cephalus. Wake not too soon, sweet nymph, my love is won. Caitiffs, why stir your strains? Why tempt you me?
Enter the priests of the sun with mitres on their heads, carrying fire in their hands.
All hail unto the Assyrian deity.
Priests, why presume you to disturb my peace?
Rasni, the destinies disturb thy peace. Behold, amidst the adepts of our gods, our mighty gods, the patrons of our war, the ghosts of dead men howling walk about, crying, Ve, ve, woe to this city, woe! The statues of our gods are thrown down, and streams of blood our altars do disdain.
Alas, my lord, what tidings do I hear? Shall I be slain?
Who tempteth Alvida? Go, break me up the brazen doors of dreams, and bind me, cursed Morpheus, in a chain, and fetter all the fancies of the night, because they do disturb my Alvida.
A hand from out a cloud threatens with a burning sword.
Behold, dread prince, a burning sword from heaven, which by a threatening arm is brandished.
What? Am I threatened, then, amidst my throne? Sages, you magi, speak! What meaneth this?
These are but clammy exhalations, or retrograde conjunction of the stars, or oppositions of the greater lights, or radiations finding matter fit that in the starry sphere kindled be. Matters betokening dangers to thy foes, but peace and honour to my lord, the king.
Then frolic, viceroys, kings, and potentates, drive all vain fancies from your feeble minds. Priests, go and pray, while I prepare my feast, where Elvida and I, in pearl and gold, will quaff unto our nobles richest wine, in spite of fortune, fate, or destiny.
And they exit.
Woe to the trains of women's foolish lust, in wedlock rights that yield but little trust, that vow to one that yet common be to all. Take warning, wantons, pride will have a fall. Woe to the land where warnings profit not, who say that nature God's decrees hath wrought, who build on fate and leave the cornerstone, the God of gods, sweet Christ, the only one. If such escapes, oh, London, reign in thee, repent, for why each sin shall punished be. Repent, amend, repent, the hour is nigh. Defer not time, who knows when he shall die.
Yes, doesn't matter if you have a whacking great hand coming from the sky saying it could be you. The first Magi is perfectly, Magus is perfectly happy to just say, no, it's nothing. It's just a cloud. Yeah, you get these all the time.
Deus Ex Machina.
Alvida, lovely singing. It's a wonderful scene. I'm noticing a pattern with the women in this play, however. I'm not sure the play has as a thesis that they're not necessarily coming off well.
Well, there's Samia.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
It's green though, isn't it? So
yeah. I was going to say, he's got form if it is green. Oh, it's a fabulous scene.
It's amazing.
Mm.
And Liza, I have to ask, please tell me you read ahead and sorted out that tune in your head beforehand, and you didn't just like improvise that in the moment.
It was basically during the previous discussion segment, I was like, oh my God, song. So I kind of sorted it out in my head a bit during that, but it was mostly improv, just see the dance stuff.
It was lovely.
So thank you so much.
I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
That's very kind. I was trying very much to seduce you.
It was like listening to a siren. It genuinely was.
Of the emergency sort. Thank you.
I mean, and you know, the scene is really, you know, she really does try her hardest to get him to. I just love the direction Faint's pointing at the king, like you know. It wasn't me. It was
him.
Which doesn't come to anything. Yes, Elizabeth, I see your hand. Or no,
I was pointing to the king. I was pointing to the king.
It's another fabulous thing. There's a little part in my mind that I'm starting to think about Osius. Is you know, we mentioned John Bale before we went into record. He's very John Bailey, and I mean that quite literally in the sense that he actually has one or two uses of phrasing that I'm starting to go, that's feeling awfully familiar. And we know that Green, if that bit is by Green, knows his earlier interlude traditions because he borrows bits in James IV. And I'm wondering if that's deliberate, if there's a little bit of play in there. I mean, Simon will remember Dust and Slime having to, because you read Adam once, and you had to somehow say slime in a way that worked. You had to say, I am but slime. And that sort of leapt out at me. So I'm wondering if that's a deliberate sort of little drop in. Whether anyone would notice, God only knows. Probably overstating that. Okay, we're into extra time. So sort of general roundup and thoughts about the play so far. That last scene. By order of enthusiasm of waving, I think. Who wants to dive in with general thoughts? Simon?
So half-assed sort of waving there. No, obviously I missed yesterday's, but thanks to you guys catching me up, able to follow it very well. I quite like it actually. I quite like it as a framing. It's got some recurring things, of course, but it seems to be done in a very different way to a lot that we've encountered. And obviously, I am part Assyrian in heritage, so I'm probably swayed by this. But no, I enjoy the little diversions, and there's lots to like. I feel there's lots to like.
I mean, you
it
know,
was quite grandiose as well, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they're throwing everything at this, aren't they? There's you know, and there is a certain amount of trying to tie what seems very disparate threads actually together, and certainly more of that's happening now. Didn't feel that yesterday so much. Who's next?
There are no. Sorry, my final thing is just there are no to me, like ridiculous lines. I know you laughed at cow stuff yesterday from what,
That's deliberate though, trust me.
I see, but it's not like that something hasn't stood out today that have been like that. That's my last and profound statement.
Who else wants to jump in? Sarah.
I don't know anything about John Bailey.
Bale. Yeah,
Bale.
don't worry about it.
I don't know who he is, but I assume he's a playwright. Morality playwright.
Listen to the podcast.
I will. I need to do that. But I did love what Stephen said earlier about Osius, and it occurs to me that actually his speeches, as the play goes on, as perhaps we would expect, they're getting more and more fire and brimstone. And if you did play him as a sort of Bible basher, kind of like a real sort of fire and brimstone, Baptist type, then that actually would be really, really funny, because the more passionate he becomes about sinners, the more the audience would be booing him, and it would just make the whole thing very, very anarchic. And I just thought that was a really good interpretation and could be really good fun, actually.
Stephen.
Yeah, I'm just sort of piggybacking on that. It reminded me a little bit, of the way that Monty Python used to take authority figures, and they would start off very sensible, and they would become sillier and sillier. And we have this kind of we have this slot at the end of every scene for, it's almost like sort of subtitles or something, like, or somebody at the bottom of the screen signing, and this means, according to the prophet, but it becomes increasingly sort of unmoored from what we're actually seeing and enjoying. And so at the end of it, the prophet is off to one side, translating it all into Old Testament, which is increasingly less like the enjoyment we've got of the play as we go
on. Interesting things will occur in the future as well. Helen.
I don't see it quite the way Stephen does, because one of my fields of study is the Calvinist rulers of the smaller towns in England. And what they are saying is, we must close the alehouses, we must stop fornication, we must do this, we must do that, because it will be the cause of the enkindling of God's wrath against this town. And it was a really serious thing. It's repeated over and over again by the mayors, the aldermen, and whatever, that this is why they're enforcing morality on the towns, because of the fear of enkindling God's wrath. So it's a real thing.
It doesn't mean you can't mock it, though.
No, of course you can mock it, but nevertheless, people did see when catastrophes occurred. Plague was down to this sinful generation.
Yes, Dan.
The fact that this was reprinted and replayed over a course of 25 years suggests to me, however, that I'm not sure if we can take a strict interpretation of what the intention may have been. In fact, I read it kind of more as an open commentary on these items without, I guess, shoving down your throat how it should be played or how it should be taken by its audience there. So I absolutely do think there's room, whether if you want to take it as evil or whatnot, or a satire on that, a commentary on that. I absolutely think that's why it's been so popular and restaged over and over. It's because it's open that way, and it has a lot of avenues, a lot of methods by which you can interpret it.
Well, also, there's a difference to how it would be taken as a read thing as opposed to a seen thing as well, and there's a question of different audiences for that, and also the question of how we would approach it today. What would we make of this? What would we emphasize if we were doing this today? Because in a sense, it's quite a difficult one to do today, because of what it's trying to do and trying to say. or not trying to say. It's an interesting one to navigate because it's full of material I absolutely love, but as a whole, I'm looking at overall as a play going, this is a difficult one to pitch. Stephen again.
Well, just to kind of draw together Dan's and Helen's points, so we remember touring as well. That this is a company that's it's set up for touring. Theatres are on lockdown half the time, and so they are going to pitch up in towns. Whereas Helen says, there may be a very strong kind of Calvinist ruling class. But that supports Dan's point, really, which is that we've got a script we can take in different directions depending on how it seems to be going on the night.
Yeah, Osius changing the pitch of their performance depending on who's there. Alexandra, I saw a hand.
I think Liza was ahead of me, but
jump in. I'm sure she'll come in a second.
Right. Yes, no, I had on the same subject. I had an idea or an opinion. So similar to the thing about where should we pitch Adam and how would we have seen that as the audience of the time. I think Oseas is a similar situation where it's like it depends so much on how it's performed. For what we could do today, I think it would be very interesting to lean into the fire and brimstone preacher being a ridiculous figure for at least the middle chunk, so that the perspective of the audience shifts towards ridicule, and then to redeem that at the end by actually showing in his interpretation, in his performance, how much of a Cassandra figure he is. Because I think if we just look at it from his own perspective, he is essentially, as Helen said, foreseeing the destruction of the world, and he's looking at the oncoming storm and saying to everybody, look, we need to make change in order to prevent this. Nobody's listening to him, and it's maddening. It's enraging as well as maddening in the insane sense. So where pre-Christian prophets like Cassandra go insane, we'll see what happens to him tomorrow. But I think it would be very interesting to give him that vibe, if you do this as a modern performance, to give him to make him seem silly to the audience as he would to the people he would be preaching in Nineveh, and then prove him right at the end.
Well, that's the thing. Before we go to Liza, I mean, the thing is, Osius never doesn't interact with anyone. I mean, he's not preaching to anyone. He can't preach to anyone. He can only preach to the audience. And actually, if we emphasize that with constantly trying to talk to people on stage who just walk past him, because Jonas is the one who is given the ability to preach, but he's got lost in the mail, and so those two as dual figures are really interesting. Liza, sorry, very late coming to you.
Well, no, that was really interesting, and I'm glad I heard it. Also, just a couple things that Osius, in period, he was probably meant to be morally quote unquote right, but if we staged it now, his language is so intensely misogynist that I don't know whether portraying him as right would, I don't know what that would say to our audience. And it's a misogynist play. I mean, even Alvida, who's a whole lot of fun to play, even she is like, oh, tee-hee, I'm a woman, and therefore I'm a hoe, aren't I? It's partly that, and partly, it's interesting from a sort of meta point of view that, maybe this play is intended to preach to its audience as well as give them a good show, and that's why you need vice and virtue. But the audience for these sermons are by definition theater goers. So the context is kind of pre-selected there. Anyways, that was...
And as I say, we're well into extra time now, so I'm not going to do the complete room as other times. Anyone who's got a very final thought, nice and pithy, wave at me, or if you're invisible, say something.
Just one, Robert. normally the clown role, when we've come on before, have not been named as a character. And I just wonder whether there is some symbolism in the fact that the clown figure is named Adam, and he seems to be open to all temptations.
Could be.
Very likely.
Yeah. I would have thought they're playing with that. There might be some more material on that next time. Anyone else? No. Well, in that case, I'm going to round off the session. Thank you very much, everyone. We've got another final third to do. We're going to be meeting the odd demon, so it should be good fun next time. So all that remains is to thank everyone for all their wonderful work and say goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Robert. Bye.